What is up? This is a very special podcast because it's not necessarily Tasmanian Takeover. It's not necessarily Hawks Hangout. This is something a little unique. Hooking you up, it's me, Berto, from Tasmanian Takeover with my man, Sam, from the Hawks Hangout. How are you, brother?
Good, mate. Good, mate. It's good to be here finally on the Younger Cousins podcast. How you been, mate?
The younger cousin. Yeah, no, we've just been hiding away in a little island, just honing our craft to come and whoop some ass.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
So yeah, we've been talking on the back channels there for the basketball fix, and I suppose it'd be much amiss to not give a shout out to the boys at the basketball fix for all they do and all the NBL team podcasts that have launched over the last few weeks. We're nearly there. We nearly got all 10 teams. Hawks Hangout, Tasmanian Takeover, Wildcat Rap, the Breakers have just had their one launch this week, so make sure you check out Breakers Breakout, I believe it's called. And I think I'm on the good authority that the King's Table, the Sydney Kings podcast, should be launching in the next week or so. So, yeah, it's filling up, and the boys over at the Basketball Fix are certainly doing a great job to get us all up and going. But Sam and I had been talking on the back channels, and we've got an upcoming game as early as, depending on when you're watching this, Tuesday the 7th. And we're going to, the mighty Ants, the mighty JackJumpers are going to whoop some Hawks ass. What do you, you don't reckon so, Sam?
Not at all. Not at all. I think, what was the score again that first game? 109-76?
Shush.
Yeah.
Look, mate, we weren't the same team. Yeah, we're still without Mags at this stage, although I pray that, maybe he turns around and decides that the toe is okay, or he can put some super glue on it or something and have a crack. But, look, we're going to get into it in a moment's time. We're going to really start dissecting what we think will be the result. It has been an interesting time for both teams. Both the Jackies and the Hawks have come off losses. We both share a common enemy at the moment, though, being Southeast Melbourne. I mean, we took a bit of a hit last Sunday? I'm trying to put the days out of my mind. And you guys took a hit a couple of games back. What do you reckon? Before we get into talking about our own teams versing each other, how is Southeast looking to be contenders?
I don't know. This is 2 games in a row now for the Hawks that they've gone down to Southeast Melbourne, 1 at home, 2 at home, actually. There you go. So both at home now, and both by a margin of 5 points each time. I think the first time we played it was about 105 to 100, and then this time around it was 111 to 105, I believe. So,
and it's funny that you say that, because I thought I'll do a little bit of looking into things and sort of go, okay, well, what sort of similarities have we got? We've actually got a very similar story. Very early on in this season, we took on Southeast, and I can't even remember the score, and it's for very good reason. It wasn't a good one by any stretch of the imagination, and we sort of sat there and gone, okay, a couple of things were against us. It was in our kryptonite arena, which is the Silverdome. Seems to be any time we play up there is a greater chance of us walking away flogged than walking away successful. And then we had last Sunday at my state, and everyone had us pegged for taking it down, but I don't know what it is. The guys just seemed to couldn't get a grip of the game. We had a slight run partway through. We'll obviously dissect it more on Tasmanian Takeover this in the upcoming podcast, but it is like Southeast are our kryptonite. And I'm sort of wondering if they're your kryptonite as well.
I think the 36ers might take the throne for that one.
Really?
We haven't seemed to be able to just get past that team yet. But I don't know. Tassie have given us a tough run, but I think Southeast Melbourne, they're such a good team, and they're so talented and crafted, kind of similar to the Hawks, where they've got that next man up mentality. If someone's not having a good game, if Sobey's not having a good game, if Walton Jr.'s not having a good game, Glover steps up, someone else steps up. But, you know, there's always someone else in that team that is willing to get in there and get it done.
Agreed. That next man mentality, I think, really does make teams. And I think that's something that really comes from a great head coach. And if there's something we're starting to see a bit of a trend here is these head coaches who, well, not so much with Roth, because Roth has been there since the start of the JackJumpers. But we started to see it with JT coming into the Hawks, and my hat goes off. I mean, I think Coach of the Year has to go to JT this year, and I say that while sitting there slightly going, "Oh my God, I really, like nominating Roth every year." But I'm also thinking what King's doing for Southeast Melbourne is phenomenal as well, and I kind of wanted to lead into this a little bit because I think it is really telling of these teams where it really is about getting in there, and it's not so much about the stats and the numbers and the plays and whatever else, but it's more about the head coaches coming in and rallying behind the boys and getting them to really function as a full machine. And much like a machine, everyone's got their position, everyone's got their role. There are no highlighters, there are no superstars, so to speak. And if one part of the machine isn't working, great, you can take it out, swap it out, give it a dust off, and then put it back. Are you seeing the same thing going on with Illawarra, as we've just said we're seeing with Southeast, and also I can quite happily say is happening with Tasmania?
Yeah, absolutely. The real stickler for me, and they've done a beautiful thing down in the WEC at the moment, and I don't know if you've seen the post that they've posted about it, but Big Joe Zirkin, big shout out to Big Joe. They've down in the hallway as the players walk in. I'm sure everyone's seen that photo of everyone holding up a 3 and going crazy when Big Zook shot his first NBL points, which was this beautiful 3 from the corner. And they've taken this photo, and JT and the assistant coaches approached Biggie and said, "Hey, we really want to do something special for the boys. We want to frame it. We want to put it up in the locker room. We want to have it as like, this is our team. This is what it's all about." He's done one better, and he's gone and done them on 6 by 2.8 meter panels, and he's gone and done 2 of them. So as you walk through the tunnels, as the boys come in on their way to the game day, they walk past it straight to the locker room. They see it every time they come into the WEC. And Corey and I have touched on it a lot in our podcast over at the Hawks Hangout at the moment. We've got a lot of home games coming up, and to drop 2 home games in 2025 right off the bat, it's something that the boys really need to have a look at that photo. They really need to have a look at it. As you said, it's a well-oiled machine. That game, they took on Perth. They absolutely demolished them. It was 120 to 88 to the point where JT was like, "You know what? I'm going to reward these boys and put them on. They barely get minutes. Let's chuck them on." And you see what happens. And, we had the same thing happen with you guys the other night, where a few of the development players got to come on. Obviously it was, not the best game.
Well, it's funny you say that, because usually you can tell when we're absolutely going to win a game, because Big Walt Brown, he comes on all suited up, ready to rock and roll, and it's like, as JD, he refers to him as the barometer. We've won if Walt Brown's on. But it was nice to see, okay, well, we've lost this. Who gives a shit? Let's get some of the boys on there. I mean, we had Stoddart get his first points in the NBL. I think that's phenomenal. I think that is what builds the culture, and I think that's why these teams, whether it be the Jackies, who at the start of the season we're being told, nah, they're done, they were one and done, what happened to the reigning champions, they've shit the bed, to, the likes of the Hawks, who were, last season they were pretty much dead in the water. Then JT takes over, and now look at them, they're sitting there at the top of the ladder and have been sitting there for a while. And just a quick shout out to Corey, mate, we're not going to get into any chip talk, it's all right, no chip talk here for now.
I think my head would be coming off if I started talking about that.
We'll just suddenly see Corey just slip into the DMs and we're in all sorts of trouble. And then you start to see what's going on with Southeast Melbourne as well. And I mean, as much as this isn't about Southeast Melbourne, it's just interesting how these three teams are coming at the whole season. I mean, I'm sure behind the scenes it's much different approaches, but from an outsider's perspective, rally around the boys, get them enthused. How you start is how you finish, to take that quote from JT and slightly, take it out of context, I guess. But I really like that. I thought that was fantastic, but he's basically like, well, what do you want to do? Do you just want to just go through the motions? To use my own words, you're going to piss or get off the pot.
Absolutely. It's, as you said, like these three teams, Melbourne included, they've just looked at it from the bigger picture. They have gone from the top down and they've gone, well, this is our goal, like everyone else. This is how we're going to get there. We're not going to go one game at a time. We're going to go week by week.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of these other teams, you see it, especially someone like Sydney, they take it one game at a time. I don't think they realistically look ahead to the next game that they've got going. I know for us, and, talking to some of the boys when we've had, fan meet and greets and stuff, they're always looking forward to that. Not the next game, but the game after. You ask them, oh, yeah, how you feeling about the Tassie game? Yeah, really good. I'm actually more keen for the New Zealand game that's on Saturday.
Right.
Like, they're already looking at the game up ahead. They don't want to live in the now. They're living for the future. And that mentality is what's going to get them through into that finals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, I think we've shown enough love for each other and each other's teams here. I think it's time to get the claws out a little bit, or more importantly, I'm going to get my stinger ready, and we're going to give the Illawarra Budgies a bit of a sting, send them on their way and whatever else, because we all know what's going to happen tomorrow night. We're going to come on in with that next man mentality. Now, we are a solid team, but when we take a loss, we tend to bounce back. And some might say, well, yeah, but you're also about to go on the road. But we're also pretty good on the road as well, with a number of our wins coming from road kills. So, much like a hawk up against the front of a Mack truck, how's it feel to know that you're going to lose on tomorrow night?
Oh, I mean, as I said on our podcast, it's a bit difficult when half your team's under 5 foot and could be squashed under a tribe's foot. So, it's
fair.
I get what they're doing with Crawford, but at the same point in time, you've got an import guy who's shooting the lights out every day and night, and you're going to start him at the 6 man. Like, come on, Scotty. Come on.
Oh, it's a bold call, though. It's a bold call because I think that's been one of Scotty's smartest moves. And let me tell you why. He's high energy. We end up starting with Sean McDonald off in the starting 5. He is phenomenal. And then just when we need that extra stroke of energy, we put the pocket rocket on there. We put Teapot on there and let him steam up and explode. And I think that's really worked really well for us. My greatest concern whenever that happens is who's going to be put on JD defensively, JC. JD's on my podcast. Who's going to be put on JC defensively that he's going to have to sit there and try and work around? I saw it in the Southeast Melbourne game quite a number of times. It looked like they had Walton Jr. on JC, and just that was a mismatch from hell.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned, but because you guys have got a bit of size about you, that's where we're going to get swarmed.
Absolutely. I mean, as much as I'd love to see Stampo and JD suit up for the respected teams, JC is just a phenomenal player. He came in and he had an absolute blinder in that game against us. Unfortunately, they went down. But, that was just their championship hangover, and they were doing a bit of a Brian Goorjian and living in their glory days. So shout out to the King's Table. I know they'll have some
shots fired. Shots fired.
But when we're talking about matchups, I think it's pretty even across the board. We've got a lot of good matchups, especially with our guard combinations. Obviously, with us, with Trey Kell and Harvey sitting out there, and you guys, you've got a lot of good guard depth, especially with, as you said, that spark that Jordan Crawford brings off the bench as well. I feel defensively in a matchup, we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen. And as Corey and I spoke about on our podcast the other day, is it maybe time for JT to loosen the reins on Wani and reel him back in a little bit and go, hang on, mate, we really need you to come off the bench. And you put someone like Hickey in that starting lineup to get that decent matchup, so that when Jordan Crawford comes on, Peatling comes off, Days comes on for Peatling, whatever substitution usually is, but Days and Wani come in as that first substitution of the game. Wani just defensively goes straight to Jordan Crawford. If he really wants to start playing that 3-and-D, as he has said, and he wants to play and wants to be that 3-and-D guy, you could hear it the other night. They were yelling out, shoot, shoot, and he just kept flicking it out because he didn't have that confidence. Bring that confidence, Wani. Bring that confidence. And if he's got that mismatch up against Crawford, I feel once his defense starts going, and we saw it against Bryce, once his defense gets firing and they hold that certain player to a minimal amount of points, 13 points in one quarter and nothing for the rest of the game, if he can do that to JC, the game's won. In my opinion, if we can shut down JC, whether it be Hickey, whether it be Wani, whether it be someone else, and we create those mismatches, which we created the other night, and we couldn't take advantage of it, that's just what the Hawks are. The Hawks can create those mismatches when they're on the floor, which comes from that size. You know, Corey and I absolutely love the fact that we've gone out and got Trey Kell. We've gone and got ourselves a beefy, stocky, one guard. And that's rare in today's game.
And he's quite a weapon. When he sits there and he's on, his shooting is phenomenal to watch. Which, speaking about when they're on, their shooting can be quite phenomenal to watch. All I can hope is that Milt is alive, buzzed, ready to go. Because I love Milt. I love Milt's game. And I think he's often underrated for what he does on the court outside of his shooting. But I think for us to really be able to bring it to you guys, because you guys like a fast play, you like generally you bring in a high scoring game. And I think what we're going to need to do is have that firing power. So it's rare we see it, but I'm hoping we've got both JC firing and Milt firing, backed up by Shawnee Mack, who just happens to have his eye in. I'd like to hope that Captain Clint's got his eye in, although I'm wondering, he's been a little bit off lately, so I hope that's not an issue, because I'm also concerned about how we're going to go taking on Froling under the ring. I know Fab's pretty good at walling up, and he can be a pretty solid brick wall to work through, but it's not the same as having Mags there.
No. It's an Olympian compared to Fabs. It's, what do you do? If it was Mags in there, I think this conversation would be a lot different right now. And I think you're right. It's something that the Hawks didn't exploit enough with the Taipans. They were 8th in the league, the Taipans, for points given up in the paint, and we are the top team in the comp for points in the paint. And Froling finished with 4 points. So he needs to go back to the ways he was having and averaging a double-double in the past 3 games that he had. And he needs to just attack that rim. He needs to have no fear. Look for Lockie and even Peatling in that low paint, that low block, that low paint. Peatling, Olbrich, Froling, Days. You'll see those boys in there a lot. And they'll drag them. Once we establish them as an offensive threat, they'll start to drag. And I've seen it in coaching as well. I've seen it when I've got my big men who can just penetrate that hole and get in there. Teams often start to drag, and that third player comes in. And it's what Wani's been doing a lot lately. He's just been dragging. He's been getting sucked in, and he's leaving that person out who's been on fire, which was Taron Armstrong, and they were just hitting it down. So it's something that Tassie really have to be careful of, because if Harvey's hot, if Kel's hot, if someone else is hot, Days is hot, if one is, finally stepped up and had a good game, they're not players that you want to leave open and be getting caught on a mismatch, drawing another player into the key to try and block a shot.
I think it's going to be really important in that regards to sit there and have, obviously, our shooters on, but I'm thinking to sit there and defensively, I'm thinking the combo of Fab and Deng will really help. I mean, I really like when the two of them are firing. You've kind of almost got that 2 level of wall to get through. And I'm really hoping this is the game where we get to see just what level of defense Hummer brings to the mix. I think if he's now had a couple of games under his belt. He's got, he should be starting to become accustomed to the way we play and the way the team fuses well together. If we can get him to almost become like that third level, that sort of that barrier between outside the key and inside the key, if you will, I think we might stand a chance. And, much like any kind of army of ants, you've got to sit there and have your recruits in different layers. We're small. It's a big attack.
Small and big attack. That's what she said, mate.
Hey,
Shout out to Corey. I had to do it. You're not here, Cause, but I had to do it for you.
I love it. The moment you said, I was sitting there thinking your last episode. Corey got me a beauty with that one. I'm listening to it. I just, I lost it. It was great. All right. Now, putting all rivalries aside, this is going to be a challenging one. Who do you reckon has it? You or us?
As much as I want to give it to the boys, 2 home losses in a row. That's a lot, especially against the bottom team in the comp. It was interesting to see JT's presser the other night. It came out pretty fast. It was only 5 minutes. It was just him. It's the first time in a little while that it's just been him in a presser. And he had some good words to say. And I know the boys were straight back into practice the next day. There was no day off. They were straight back into it. Because we're at home and we've had that decent rest to get into the game. And I know Tassie only just played last night. They've got a road trip today, getting back up here for tomorrow. And then it's an early game that they've got to get adjusted to. Hopefully, because it's home court, I'd love to see a home court advantage. The fans get around it. The boys get around each other. We see them playing like the Hawks we know. But I just feel, as you said at the start of this episode, Tassie are a team that don't like to lose twice in a row, especially after they lost at home. Most of their road wins have come off the back of a loss at home. And for Illawarra, it's something that you've got to really watch out for, because Tarangi will be fired up. JC will be fired up. Steindl will be fired up. I'd really love to see that Hummer matchup. I'd really love to see who we put on him, whether it be Days, whether it be Peatling, whether it be Hickey. I'd love to see whatever matchup that they put on him. It's just one of those things where it's the 2 top teams. We've said it a lot behind the scenes, and I know a lot of fans will agree with this, and they've been, sending the DMs through to the Hawks Hangout. It's the 2 top teams. I definitely feel like this game will have a finals atmosphere to it.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. If you asked me last week who took this, I gave it to you guys. So the last podcast, both JD and I both said it's going to the Hawks. And then Sunday happened. And the game that we thought we would take against Southeast Melbourne, it killed us. For all the reasons mentioned, I'm leaning towards our boys. And not just because, obviously, I'm biased, because I'll call a spade, and I really do believe that had we won against Southeast Melbourne, not that it would have been a level of complacency, but there is something they get a taste. After they've lost, they get a taste for some kind of revenge. And I got a feeling, unfortunately, you guys are going to become collateral damage. But that being said, it is absolutely going to be finals atmosphere. I really do believe that. Hopefully, our boys work out whatever it was that was causing so many turnovers during the Southeast Melbourne game. I don't know whether it was just that they forgot where the talcum powder was, or whether they all decided to use some Vaseline on their hands or whatever else, but their grip on that ball was all over the shop. Maybe it was the leak in My State Arena. I don't know. Maybe they were all trying to catch the rain with their hands. I have no idea. But hopefully getting across to the mainland, it's a little bit warmer. Hopefully they can keep their hands a little dry.
It's not really warm and dry here at the moment, mate. It's Tassie weather here.
I could hear the thunderstorm in the background there, so I'm sitting there thinking, do I eat my words at this point in time? But no, let's commit with that. Now, I'd be very much remiss to not talk about something very important to both our shows, and that is the little competition that's going on with the basketball fix. So there is a bit of a competition going on with all the new shows that are launching on the basketball fix for, I guess, bragging rights and just a little bit of, fun and whatnot, to sort of show that, we're all putting in our all and we're all trying to do this, not just for ourselves, because obviously we're huge fans of our teams, but also for the fans who have been tuning in and sharing our posts and listening to every podcast. But yes, do keep listening to the shows. Do keep sharing, liking, telling your friends, telling your families. I don't know, putting QR codes all around the suburbs. I'm not condoning littering, but certainly putting a few posters up here and there, maybe on the back of toilet doors, particularly if it's for, the Wildcat Wrap. That's fine. That's probably where the QR codes deserve to go.
On the back of the toilet door, mate. It should be in the toilet bowl.
Good point. Like one of those aiming spots.
Yeah. Straight on the urinal aiming spot. Just piss right on the Wildcat face.
Love it. So this is what happens when you put two teams together who are going to go against the Cats no matter what. So yeah, do get out there, do share, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You've heard it a million times on socials before. And more importantly, just get amongst it, because we're all working really hard to make these podcasts as entertaining and as informative as possible whilst being fans for fans. So, make sure you get amongst it. And, of course, follow the Basketball Fix at the Basketball Fix on Insta, on YouTube. They're on Facebook. They're on TikTok. They're on, what was the other thing they signed up to the other day? Blue Sky. They're everywhere. So get
Spotify, website.
Spotify.
We've got everything.
Yep. Get there. If you can't find it, let us know. I'm sure very soon the boys will have it on the hub as well. But anyway, not that anyone wants to see that. That would be a really nasty, nasty moment.
The only thing that's going to be nasty is your beat down tomorrow night, mate.
Love the fighting words. Sam, it's been good to get onto a podcast with you, mate, and talk some shit about our teams. It is a friendly rivalry, but I think it is great that we're able to do this in such a humorous and it's a safe space.
Nothing but love. Absolutely nothing but love for the boys in Tassie.
Absolutely. And yeah, this is probably also a good opportunity to give a shout out to JD and Corey, who couldn't join us for this. We were going to try and make it a four-way, and we may end up doing this in future. But unfortunately, both of those guys were tied up, and Sam and I couldn't resist the opportunity to sit there and go at each other with the cameras rolling, or the audio recording, I suppose. Sam, thanks for joining me, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Clint. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Really appreciate it. And guys, thank you for tuning in to this crossover podcast through the Basketball Fix. Catch us later.